Here we go. All right. I want to call to order this meeting of the Finance Committee, September 12th, 2023, 5:30 p.m. Coach, would you mind leading us to the invocation and pledge, please, sir? Thank you. Everybody stand.
Let's bow our heads. Most Heavenly Father, as we come at this hour in the evening, we're very grateful and very thankful to be here. We pray, Lord, that you bless each and every person under the sound of my voice. We ask, Lord, that you bless these young kids, bless their parents, bless their homes. We pray a blessing upon Ascension Parish. We pray a blessing upon each and every councilman. We pray a blessing, Lord, that you continue to guide, lead, and direct us in a mighty way, Father. And Lord God, as we leave this place, we ask, Lord, that you allow each of us to get home safe and sound to our parents and to our homes. In your name we pray, and we all say it, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kids got it right, they don't rush through it. I don't think they're allowed to at school.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Coach. We appreciate that. So roll call. It looks like Mr. Robert, Mr. Turner, Mr. Ogeron, and Mr. Wagasback are currently absent. We'll move on to item 3, chair's additions. We have a couple people in the audience tonight that we need to recognize for some excellent work. Oh, Mr. Ogeron just joined us. We need to recognize these young kids for the awesome job they did representing Ascension Parish. So at this time, I'd like to ask Coach Wayne Grenfell to come up and talk to us a little bit about it.
Thank you guys for having us here tonight. I know y'all got some meetings to go through, but appreciate you guys having us here tonight. First thing I want to do is thank all the parents of our young kids. They are most of them are used to it by now, but the money these folks spend going out and playing baseball from January to the end of August, you know, it's a great thing for them to be able to do that for their kids, and we're glad that they are part of what we're doing. Also want to thank the 400, 500 volunteers that make our little league go. From 3 to 4-year-old T-ballers to 15 and 16-year-olds, it truly does take a family to do what we do. Our goal is to have the best recreational baseball program in the United States. We definitely have one of the top ones now already in Southwest region, and definitely the best in Louisiana. So thanks to all these guys and everybody that's a part of our league. I'd like to thank our board of directors. The board of directors, we make the best decisions possible in order to get results in a positive way, and I think our board does a good job at doing that. Now for the guys who get the fun part of all the work, the special players who have the opportunity to wear Ascension across their chests, and hopefully the Southwest Orange, as one of our teams did. Our 10-year-olds who repeated this year was a fun group to watch. Coach Jordy and Coach Shane have done this for the past 2 years. Preparing this group, they won 2 state championships back-to-back. You know, it's enjoyed hanging with them. They had a rain delay where they ended up beating Lafayette. It was like a big party. The only thing that was missing was alcohol from the parish. But they were having a good old time, and they got the W. Our 15, 16-year-olds truly stayed the course in their state tournament. Many people would think that a 16-year-old recreational baseball game would not be as intense. But if you watch them guys play in the last game and when the state championship was won, you would see otherwise. It was awesome to see those guys under Coach Trey Arnold and his staff succeed. It was great to be there and be a part of what they were doing. Our 12-year-olds, what can you say? Second in the regionals. They became state champs, to the Southwest region runner-up, to the team that finished 4th in the world. They beat the legendary Scott Frazier from East Bank Little League, playing in front of crowds of hundreds. And when the game played, that they played Oklahoma, when they helped tie a record for the biggest comeback in Little League Southwest history. ESPN told us there was over 24 million people in the world watching Ascension Parish baseball. And that's a credit to these guys. That night they were on ESPN. Aaron Boone with the Yankees was getting ejected for like the 16th time. The headline was Ascension Parish baseball and the comeback over Oklahoma. Over 32 million people in the world was watching Ascension Parish. Coach Trent, Coach Austin, Coach Skip, great job. I think they represented us well on TV when they were mic'd up. I think they did a great job. It was fun to be a part of that and be a part of watching those guys. Finally, our regional champions, they got to wear the orange. Our 13-year-old intermediate team, congrats to Coach Shane and his group. They had a tough state tournament, having to beat Lafayette 2 times, which they did. Then they went to the Southwest Regional in Sugar Land, Texas, and rode through that competition by a combined score of 47-4. They had 2 tough World Series losses, but they won their consolation game playing Australia. If you go back and Google Little League Intermediate highlights, you can see Coach Shane in his interview with the Little League World Series people. He represented our parish with class, and it was a great interview. These guys have set a precedent for Ascension Parish Little League Baseball. The X is going to be on the backs of our future teams because of what these guys have done, that teams want to come get us now. And they're going to bring their A games. We got to keep getting better, and we will. I'd like to, everybody, give yourselves a round of applause for a great job this summer. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Coach. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Melanson now. Push up for on.
Mason was supposed to come help. I thought you were coming help.
I can.
I'm sorry. Being that everybody, all 4 teams are here together, instead of calling you up individually and waiting on your certificate, just because there's, I think, roughly 50 of y'all here, I'm going to go through the roster of each team. Look, and as I call out your name, I want y'all to walk through this little door right here. Come stand right here. I'm going to give all the certificates to your coaches, and each team is going to take a picture with the council right here in front of the podium, okay? And I'm going to just add a few comments. I played AP baseball late 90s, early 2000s, and to see what it is today and compared to what it was whenever I played is extremely impressive. All those guys standing on the wall over there and all you kids here in uniform. Trust me, when our all-star team played one weekend back then, and it was 2 in Q. So for you guys to be on ESPN and how phenomenal y'all were and watching y'all was something that I'd never envisioned for the parish. So, man, I look forward to 10, 12, 11, every age group from here going up. Let's see how many state titles we can rack up and how many times we can make it to Texas and hopefully California and up north in Pennsylvania. So thank y'all, man. Congratulations. Look, first we're going to start with our 10-year-olds, Coach Shane Wilkerson and Bo Holloway. Need y'all to come on up. I'll tell y'all something about Shane. Shane is my oldest, closest friend, and it's hard to tell by his physique today. He was quite the baseball player himself. But I tell you, Santa Maria High School baseball, last state championships, Shane scored the winning run in extra innings to beat Jesuit 2004, or junior year high school. So don't let the beard fool you. All right, our 10-year-old state champions, Brantley Buster, Kane Carter, Jacob Eason, Landon Gotro, let's see, Brecken Herslag, Ralph Cantro, Oliver Pope, Kaysen Roussel, Steve Segura, Jordy Tomplay, Carter Williamson, and Colin Wilkinson.
Get in there, right in the side.
Get in there with Terry. Short people.
Get in here with the short people. There you go.
Some of us are good. I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, parents, y'all can, if y'all make a snap, I'll take a picture. If y'all like to.
Everybody hold it like that.
All right, boys, say cheese. Y'all look at Miss Raven out here.
Who's that? Good point. The lady with the camera.
Yeah.
Good job, boys.
Congratulations.
All right, for our 12-year-olds, head coach Trent Tomplay, assistant coaches Austin Todd and Scott Krill. Look quiet, boys, quiet, okay? Let's make sure everybody hears our name. All right, Brody Chalette, DJ Franklin, Dax Guidry, Caleb LaDuff. No, I'm sorry, Kelly LaDuff, Caleb Corner, Aiden Luke, Alvin Mendoza, Tanner Shakesnyder, Carson Silvio, Dalen Smith, Tyler Tenor, Meyer Woodward, and Kelly Richter. Everybody look at Miss Raven in the middle. Good job, boys. Let's see. All right, now for our 13-year-olds. No, I will tell you, I like that orange. Looks like y'all Santa Mall playing EA. I like that a lot. Head coach Shane Adderholt, assistant coach Kobe Castile, and assistant coach Mikey Vickers. All right, players. Cruz Castile, Kale Causey, I'm trying not to butcher it, Cooper Bouquet, Ethan Coombs, Nathan Jackson, Landon Kennedy, Keegan Jacola, Tyson Moran, Mickey Pickett, Mason Vickers. I think that's all of them, huh? I didn't forget nobody. I do apologize for who? One, two. Oh, I did skip him. Oh, Cooper Bouquet. Oh, Cooper Adderholt. Yeah, the first one. My bad. My bad. Everybody look at Miss Raven. She's wearing the black dress right there in the middle. At the mom. job, boys. All right, now for 15, 16-year-olds, we have head coach Trey Arnold, assistant coach Seth Guidry, and assistant coach Rusty Lawless. All right, for players, Preston Baker, Gibson Patalo, Brody Creel, Baylor Guidry, Briar Lawless, Tanner Lovejoy, Reese Anderson, Braden Coburn, Anthony Othamet, I think I butchered that, Andrew Gibbons, Ethan Martin, Connor Weber. Look how you look at Miss Raven in the black dress. Good job, boys. Well, if we could, let's give one more big loud round of applause for all 4 teams. Thank y'all.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Malonzo, and thank you to the AP Baseball. Item number 4, public comment. Anyone that wants to speak on an agenda item should go see Miss Ashley and get a green or red slip, and you'll be glad. We'll give you your 3 minutes, and then move on to, might let y'all exit first. That's true. Gotta get home. It's time for supper. There you go.
Presentation.
It's a lot of people. Yes, sir.
Tell me a few open seats.
Yeah, right. Everybody move forward. Let's look good on camera.
AEDC.
Yeah. Y'all can move to the front. We don't smell bad. I mean, now Joel's not here. I can say it because I love Joel. All right. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to general business now while they finish filing out. So item A under general business, the Our Lady Lake quarterly update. Ms. Shabry Marks. Hello.
Hi, good evening. My name is Shabry Marks, and I'm the Senior Operations Director for Lake Physician Group. And I've been, along with Dr. Trevino and April Mathern, been supporting the Healthy Ascension Initiative. So as an overview, Healthy Ascension is a collaboration between Our Lady of the Lake, and Ascension Parish, with a shared goal to create a healthier Ascension Parish. With a customer-focused approach, Our Lady of the Lake Ascension has assumed the operations for the behavioral health and public health departments. And we've also provided additional assistance to the Recreation Department and Children's Health Services for programming and care. So I'll expound a little bit on the services that we've provided and the services that we've augmented thus far. So we've deployed a state-of-the-art electronic medical record, meaning EPIC. And EPIC allows us to promote continuity of care for patients and citizens of Ascension Parish. We've also increased the hours of operation in the public and behavioral health unit to include all days on Fridays. We've increased access of immunizations to 5 days per week. We've established on-site pharmacy services. We've expanded dedicated personnel to our court systems and created dedicated appointment times for our court-mandated patients. In addition to that, we've created, and I'm proud to say have on-site Medicaid enrollment. So those patients that don't have insurance, we're able to enroll them in Medicaid on-site. We've also established and maintained consistency for our walk-in patients to support their women's health needs, their primary care needs, and immunizations. And then we've augmented staff and provided staff training and education to the staff that's existing. So I'll expound a little bit on the staffing for each. So the public health unit started out with 7.5 FTEs, and you can see the makeup there. We've augmented with 7.5 additional FTEs for a total of 15 FTEs to support the public health initiatives. Same thing for the behavioral health unit, started at 6 FTEs, augmented with 13.2 FTEs, for a total of 19.2 FTEs. And I didn't highlight, but on some of these slides, you'll see the asterisks next to the positions. And those are the positions that we're still working to recruit. And so transitioning into a mobile health unit, which is our school-based program. So this is a program that we are looking to partner with Ascension Parish School Board to create mobile health services where we bring services, healthcare services to students in the Donaldsonville area with growth onto the east side. And we plan to do that with 3.25 FTEs. And so remaining to hire, as I spoke a little bit before, the total is 7.0 FTEs of the 37.45 FTEs that we have. So only 7 remaining. And then our community partners that we've begun working with, this is not the end of our community partnership, but only the beginning. And so we've started with Capital Area for our behavioral health services, the Grove with additional behavioral health services. We've partnered with the Sheriff's Office and more recently Gonzales Police Department and with our court systems as well as Ascension Parish School Board. And then the future data that so although this is a quarterly report, we don't have the financial data for the full quarter yet. So as we have the additional data, we'll bring that back to you guys. So in the additional data that we plan to expound upon is the customer experience data, financial data, quality data, and our volumes. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Coach Thomas.
Yes. What's the what's the service that we have provided on the West Bank?
So, Dr. Trevino, do you want to come up and help me with the West Bank initiatives?
So, as you can see, most of the work has been supporting the current services that are on the East Bank. There are a variety of reasons why we did that. First, they existed, and they needed to be supported, or they would take some chance to fail. We certainly didn't need that to happen. So we spent a lot of time, have spent a lot of time supporting those services. On the West Bank, what's interesting is that there is no health unit there currently, so it needs to be stood up. So the questions that we're asking ourselves is what happened to it and why. And it's important for us to understand that so we don't make whatever happened before, we don't need to make those mistakes again. So we're collecting that information to understand what's going on with what had happened before. The bus operation, the mobile clinic, is a West Bank operation. It is specifically designed for the schools as a pilot program to begin on the West Bank. So we have engaged with the superintendent of schools there and their nursing to develop that plan, and we have a meeting next week to really kind of try to operationalize that. We'll need to go to the school board, and there'll be some work to do with them to get that approval. We expect by this time on the next quarter to have a report as to the status of that. The truth is, I could stand up the mobile operation right now on the West Bank if we chose to do so, but we really prefer to do it with partners because we think it just serves the community better to have that partnership. So the answer to your question is we don't have a current operation on the West Bank. We've been up for about 3 months now. We should be engaging with the school during this next quarter to try to get that operation stood up. We are definitely coming to the West Bank. We want to make sure we do it right. We want to make sure we don't fall into whatever the mistakes or pitfalls or problems that occurred at the previous health unit so that doesn't happen again.
So the reason that you are not doing what you supposedly had told us that you would do on the West Bank is because of.
So we just haven't gotten there yet, Coach. We're en route and we will be there soon.
So what's the reason why you haven't gotten it on the other side? I mean, we have some of the needs on this side as well as the other
Right.
side also. We
So-
have to meet those needs,
Yep.
for the people also. I mean, and talking about what we're talking about now, are we gonna have our health unit on the West Bank? Are we gonna have it? Will we have our health unit back?
So, Coach, as I explained, I have every intention to reconstitute all the operations that are on the East Bank to put them on the West Bank, both in terms of public health, behavioral health, and all those wraparound services. It is not clear to me what happened to the health unit before. And so it's important that I don't fall into the same mistakes that occurred during that time. It would be a waste of taxpayers' money and our effort if we were to repeat that. So I need to understand that better. And in the meantime, we are engaging with the schools to begin the bus operation, which really is a pediatric public health unit, and we're starting with that. Once that is stood up, we should be able to engage adults in the same manner. And so in there, we collect the information and the data that suggests what kind of operation needs to occur on the West Bank and how we produce that. The partners on that side that we'll be engaging to better understand those needs will be Care South and, of course, Prevost Hospital. Will be asking both of them, what do you need here? How can we provide services that either you're currently doing but you need additional service for, or that you don't provide, and then we can see if we can fill that gap. So it's not a matter of whether we are not going to the West Bank. We're not there today, but we are coming.
Well, I would hope we would, serve the whole parish at the same time. I mean, the monies that's being spent, I think we should be able to enjoy some of the resources that we have here on the East Bank, as well as the West Bank, and the need that we have of the people on the West Bank.
Sure.
is definitely a high need of service that we need over there.
There's no question
And,
about it, and we fully
definitely-
intend to put that in there. And it's actually the most exciting part of this whole project is really creating something new on the West Bank. Healthy Ascension is coming to the West Bank, Coach.
Well, I mean, it's taking its time,
Oh, Coach, we've been up and running for 3 months now.
It's 3 months. I hadn't had anything over there yet.
Well, we've hired,
In 3 months, I mean, everything been worked over.
we've
It's been
doubled
on
the
on East
staff.
Bank. I mean,
We've
we
doubled the
talked-
staff that the parish has currently had.
Yeah.
And those of you that understand what it is like to hire and particularly in the healthcare environment. It is not trivial. But Coach, I'm gonna make you a happy man, I promise you.
I sure hope so. Thank you very much.
All righty.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Mr. Ogeron.
Thank you. I've got a question for our legal counsel. It's, I noted when you were giving us our presentation that one of your partners is the Grove, that we're facilitating, I guess, patients to the Grove.
Well, we're determining what that partnership looks like, but we've had initial conversations with them.
Mr. Robert, if you could, do we have an ethics opinion on whether or not the parish can do business with the Grove, considering Councilman Robert's participation with that business?
I haven't looked into that.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
I don't know that we have an ethics opinion on it, no. Not that I'm aware of.
Don't you agree it's something that we should get before we spend too much time delving into it? I mean, there's a good possibility that that it would be an illegal participation, wouldn't it be?
I haven't looked into that issue.
Okay. Well, I would ask that you could get us that sooner rather than later, at least definitely before they enter in any contracts and then have to nullify them because there's a conflict of interest because we have an elected official that owns a percentage of that business. So I think we need to look at it before they go any further. So could you get that for us in a month?
If the board wants to vote and direct us to do that, we can do that, yes.
Okay.
Let's just for some clarity, our partners that we're referring to we're engaging to understand what they do so that we don't duplicate a service because they're already got it covered. So we're not engaging in any contracts with anybody or anything of that sort, and we would never engage in any such activities unless this body gave approval to do so. So I don't want you to think that that's the case. There's more need than there is service in many of these cases, and behavioral health is one of them. So our goal is simply to provide as much service to the citizens in the parish, particularly those that can't get it. And so our engagement is just simply at that level.
So really what you're doing is just a question and answer situation
That's
you're
right.
in right now?
Correct.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood the.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
The
it's-
sheet that was up, but it looked like it was going to be a partnership. Because I think there would be an issue if we were to refer patients that we couldn't handle
Sure.
to the Grove.
Understood. And
And
so,
I know Mr. Robert, he's not present, but I know he and I spoke in the past, and he indicated the same thing.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that.
and we haven't done any of that at this time, and we would never engage in a private sector entity unless you guys had awareness of that. So,
That's
especially if
understood. I
there's
just don't
any
want anyone,
concern.
I'm not going to be here in 4 months. I just don't want anyone
Understood.
going forward, making that mistake and then, having egg on their face.
And we appreciate that advice. Thank you.
And to follow up with Coach,
Yes, sir.
have you gotten in touch with the gentlemen at Prevost?
Not yet, because we haven't been operational there yet. But as soon as our mobile unit exists, we'll certainly be reaching out to any of the healthcare entities on that side to ask, what are the services that we can provide that would help their, what they're doing, and not to duplicate the services that they're already providing.
Right, and pardon me, but, I'm not very familiar with Prevost's operations, but I understand that there's some vacancy there. Possibility of starting up a temporary home at Prevost while you're trying to find something more permanent to take care of Coach's constituents. I think that would be something you guys may want to look into so we can try to get that done. Cold, flu, and COVID season's coming up soon.
Yeah, actually, there's no lack of space on the West Bank. There is a number of buildings that are parish buildings that were occupied at some point but are empty. And we've looked at all of them, or many of them, to say whether we could operate. My biggest concern is the operation itself and making sure that it is truly meeting its mission and that we don't fall into a direction or follow a direction that isn't meeting its goal. On the East Bank, because operations were established, then it was a matter of review and then augment. But on the West Bank, it's really truly de novo. So it's a little bit of a different
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see you're starting from scratch on the West
Yeah.
Bank.
Yes,
I understand that. I'm just trying to, I'm with Coach and saying, some of the neediest people in our
Yeah.
parish live on the West Bank, and those are the ones who can really, benefit from your services the most, so.
Yeah, that's why the school bus program is so important to us, to get it going as quickly as possible. And they've had some leadership change. When David stepped down and now Edith, there was a little bit of a gap in terms of the engagement, and we have to have their engagement to move forward. I don't have to have their engagement to stand up our bus, and I know that. And so if it looks like there's gonna be any kind of difficulty related to the school board or anything of that for some reason, then we're gonna pivot and we're gonna do a mobile unit. It'll essentially be a mobile parish health unit until we figure out what a brick and mortar unit operation would look like.
Fantastic. Listen, guys, thank you so much for taking this on and offering these services to our citizens. Appreciate it much.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lawler.
Yeah, just before y'all go, one of the things I was interested, I don't think I saw it in the presentation, but like a year-to-date analysis of services that were provided, not just employees hired and fired, or not fired,
Right.
not fired at all, just out of habit there. But do we have any information on that year-to-date comparison of, are we providing the same number of services? Do we have the same number of people able to come in and get served?
Yeah, so we're still pulling that data. We haven't finalized that data, but we'll bring that back to you guys at our next presentation.
Okay, do we have an idea of where it is? Are we where we were? Are we ahead? Are we behind? Do we know?
I would say that we're ahead, but again, I don't have that in front of me to speak details to you guys, but I would like to provide that to you.
Okay, and with the bus, you'd mentioned the school buses, how is that gonna work? Can you explain that?
So we have a mobile unit and it looks just like a clinic. There are 2 exam rooms on the unit. And so we would be able to do the same services and provide the same services that we would in a clinic setting. So in the public health.
So it wouldn't be like a school bus, I was so
No,
confused.
it's not.
No, it's a mobile bus at school.
No, it's not.
That's what I was, okay. I was like, wait a minute, I thought I was listening, I'm thinking buses and, okay.
No AC.
Gotcha now, that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, there's no motion needed for that. So item B, approval for the parish president, Clint Clintmont, to sign and execute any necessary documents to allow Capital Area Finance Authority to offer their bond programs in addition to their current grant programs to citizens looking to purchase homes in Ascension Parish. Kristen Delahousse. Okay. Good evening.
Hello. I'm with Capital Area Finance Authority, and our footprint is East Baton Rouge and the 8 surrounding parishes, including Ascension Parish. And we offer down payment assistance programs through our lending partners, mortgage banks, credit unions, et cetera. And we help home buyers that want to purchase a home but don't have the down payment or closing costs, or helps with prepaids. We're already in the parish, we're already working. With the bond that we're going to be issuing, we need approval, a resolution to, it's in our trust indenture to work in this parish, but we can't, it's not, the bond isn't in that trust indenture. So we would need a resolution to that. It can't be executed before our TEFRA hearing, which is September 18th. I think Monday is the 18th. And so we just wanted to come and share with you if there's any questions that you might have regarding this DPA. Because of the volatility in the market, because the rates are so high, our programs really aren't performing like they normally do. So we're going to be issuing the bond, the tax-exempt bond that will help.
I have a motion from Mr. Lawson, a second from Mr. Cagnolani. Do I have any questions? Any objections? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, Ascension Economic Development to introduce Project Butcherbird, Element 25 LLC, for approval of participation in the ITEP under the Post-Executive Order 2018 rules. Ms. Kate MacArthur.
All right, good evening. Tonight we have Element 25 that's considering a location in the Burnside area for construction of a new high-purity manganese sulfate facility to use in batteries for electric vehicles. This $212 million project would create 65 new permanent jobs with $5.8 million in new annual payroll. A final investment decision is expected later this year, and construction installation would be expected to begin in 2024 and completed in 2025 if they move forward with the project. It would create 673 construction jobs and $56 million in construction payroll during that construction period. During construction, an estimated $1 million of sales and use tax revenue would be generated locally for the parish. And over the life of the project, approximately $7.2 million in direct property tax revenue would be anticipated. This is a direct tax collection total of $8.2 million. And the ITEP exemption associated with the project is approximately $5.9 million over a 10-year period. And we do have Neil Graham, who is Vice President of Battery Materials for Element 25, that's here, and he has a short presentation about the project so that you can have a better understanding of what it would look like.
Good evening, and thank you for giving us your time this evening. It's maybe the second time this evening I've heard the word Australia mentioned. The first one was regarding baseball, where Australia lost, so I'm told. But this I would like to make a joint success for all. As Kate just explained, Element 25 is an Australian organisation, and we are moving forward with the EV revolution of the world. Manganese sulfate goes into the cathodes, and we want to put Ascension Parish on the, how should I say, the EV battery map of the world. What do? It's here on this slide. It's a relatively straightforward process. We take those beautiful Australian rocks out of the ground, transport them here. We'll need to bring in something like 70,000 tons of material per year to make 65,000 tons of manganese sulfate for about 2.5 million electric vehicles. So, as we all know, that EV market is an expanding one. On the slide that you can see, it outlines the process in a pictorial manner of how we achieve that. We believe we are making the future quality product. What you see in the jar at the end of that photograph, it has been tested in various laboratories elsewhere in the world, and it is a next generation product. So we expect to be around for a long time, as we are going to be ahead of the quality curve. What will the facility look like? Because it's an inorganic chemical facility, it's not your typical hydrocarbon stacks, flares, distillation columns, etc. It is a substantially enclosed facility where we have relatively small processing units, not large hydrocarbon ones. So on that slide you see the artist's impression from our 3D model of what we expect this facility to look like. It is a relatively low profile, low visibility, low carbon footprint future facility. What does this mean economically? Obviously, Kate has covered a number of the financial aspects there, of the impact of construction. We expect there to be about 350 peak construction workers. So again, that maybe gives you an idea of the scale of that we're looking at. It is not a multi-billion dollar project with thousands of people. We would be peaking at the 300 sort of level. We have developed our process. We have developed our customer base, and there in the top right, two of our principal offtake partners are General Motors, whose name everybody is well aware of, and Stellantis, which is one that fewer people are aware of, but is equally as popular. It covers Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, along with the European brands of Fiat, Alfa Romeo, and maybe the one that sounds most sexy, Maserati. But, so we are already developing our supply chain network, of which a large proportion of that will be local. One of the attractive factors of Louisiana is for the supply of raw materials into our process. We do not have to go searching far until we find most of our principal raw materials, obviously with the exception of the ore which we will bring in from Australia. So in, I was going to say, relatively descriptive terms, we will add to the local economy in employment, in construction, in secondary employment, and utilising resources and raw materials that are already present here. Our products will then be have a larger footprint. Most of it is intended for the American market, but there will also be some exports to Stellantis in Europe. They need the material there. So I touched earlier about having a low carbon footprint. One thing we pride ourselves on is making our process different to those that already exist. And something like 98% of manganese sulfate is produced in China, would you believe? It's maybe not unusual. That part of the market has been cornered for many years. We believe we have a way of making it more efficiently, in a greener manner, that lower carbon footprint, and it is the way forward for the future. So as part of that, we produce a minimal amount of waste, because one of the focuses we have had is to develop co-products with, along with our principal product, so we can make feedstock for the ferro alloys industries, where we have developed that technology and that we can apply that. So rather than a number of processes produce substantial amounts of waste, we are going to place the large majority of that into other industries as a feedstock, so making that circular economy. And just a little picture there of the demand. Rather than look at the numbers on the graph, the bars tell the story of what people see growth to be. There will be a lot of variance from one analyst to another, but the EVs, batteries, and thus manganese sulfate is going to grow from here on in. Where is that happening? In the US, you can see the dots and the colours on there. We are hoping to put a little colour into Louisiana. As Kate touched on, we are working through an engineering process at the moment, utilising engineering organisations here in Baton Rouge, and before year end we will be at our final investment decision, of which will obviously be the go, no go, or do something different approach. We are steadfastly working towards it being a go decision. And that is the start of things. As you see on there, we're talking about stage one. Stage one, actually, I maybe should recap a little, was influenced greatly by the introduction of the IRA, which precipitated those calls from GM, from Stellantis. We had been working towards a development in Malaysia, but the pull of GM and Stellantis was, can you come to the US and do it here? So there is some evidence there of the recognition of what the IRA has impacted. The facility we're looking at initially will be 65,000 tonnes per annum, and we are leaving a space for a second stream to double that capacity in the future. And later, hopefully, additional locations, be those in the US and other countries as we spread our footprint. So, I would like to try and keep it brief, but if you have any comments, any questions, please feel free to ask myself or my colleagues that have come along.
We do have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Mr. Ogeron.
Thanks, Mr. Mason. The manganese, where is it mined?
In Western Australia.
Western Australia.
So it's about 1,000 kilometres. What's 1,000 kilometres? About 700 odd miles north of Perth, or 400 miles from the coast.
You mine the manganese there. I think I saw from your printout that you crush it and prepare it there, and then I guess put it in barges and haul it.
That's right.
Haul it here.
Actually, I'll just take two. Just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, it always helps possibly. Is it okay if I go?
Oh, please, yeah. John will protect me.
We're on a baseball team. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Right.
That's what we take out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Wash it, clean it up, and send it
And then
off.
ship it this way, or
Yes.
hopefully?
And then we turn it into that pink powder, which is
That's with the sulfate.
that's what goes into batteries.
That goes with, okay.
So the cathode of a battery is, you hear the technology NMC, nickel, manganese, cobalt.
Uh-huh.
And that M is the important and growing part for us.
How does that relate with the lithium? Is that a different concept altogether? Or?
You have anode, a cathode, and the lithium flows between them.
Got you.
So
Okay.
we're complementary. We can't live without us. Lithium can't live without us.
Okay. Are there battery manufacturing plants in the U.S. now?
There are
Or
more
are
and
we
more.
anticipating them?
No, they're being built at the moment.
Right.
A number of organisations, obviously Tesla, Ford, there are battery facilities, and our material goes into what is the cathode facility first, which can be separate or can be part of the battery component assembly facility.
Yeah, because my concern was we were shipping it from Australia to Louisiana, and then from what you read, it's most of the batteries are being manufactured in China. And so then we're going to turn around and send it to China and then wait for it to come back this way. But I'm glad to see that we're going to start building batteries here ourselves.
That's the idea. I mean, China has got a head start on the rest of the world. Korea and Japan have been closer behind. I don't want to be disrespectful, but America was maybe a little slow out of the blocks. But as I said, IRA certainly has increased that impetus and changed some things. And there is a drive and desire to see that growth here.
Super. That's what I wanted to. I wanted to see the logic chain of where it was coming from and how it was going out. But yeah.
And I mean, part of that logic is an economic logic. Moving those rocks in a bulk carrier is of 35, 40,000 tons in a ship is a lot easier and more cost effective than moving containers of super sacks of product. So if you move, and a lot of the raw materials are already here that join in with that ore to produce that sulfate.
Well, I'll tell you what, it'll be a change of scenery, not seeing the big smokestacks and the black smoke puffing up out of your facility. So I would definitely support that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ogeron. Mr. Lawler.
Yeah, honesty is never disrespectful, so don't worry about that. We were slow getting to the game. The United States was. No, actually, I'm making a motion that we move forward with this approval of the ITEP.
I have a motion from Mr. Lawler. I think Mr. Cagney was first or second. Do I have any objections? Any questions? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And Kate, we like show and tell. Item D, the quarterly update from AEDC. Ms. Kate.
All right, I'm going to try and go through this quickly to not take up too much more of the meeting time. So as always, we present to you our active projects, and in the last 2 years, this is our busiest 2 years ever since we've been created in terms of activity. So much so that we had to add a new category to our project tracking sheet. So as you're familiar with, our A projects are the ones that are making a final investment decision within 12 months. They're fluid as they move. Should they decide to put it on hold, they may fall into a B and move around again. But what we've seen a significant amount of this year is the bottom category, which is feasibility announcements. So in 2023, we have had 6 of these. So they go out as a press release from the governor's office with Louisiana Economic Development saying a project like Element 25 is considering a new location in Ascension Parish, and should they make their final investment decision after a lot of engineering and suitability studies, then their intention would be to locate here. That's really wonderful, and it's great news that we get to that point, but it doesn't always mean that we're actually going to get across the finish line. So we did have one in 2022 that was a feasibility announcement that has now been basically put on hold, which could end up never happening. So we don't count those as wins because they're really not wins until either construction is happening or final investment has been made. So right now we have $12.8 billion in capital investment associated with feasibility announcements this year that we're hoping make it across the finish line within the next 6 months. And that represents 863 new permanent jobs. We do have 9 active A projects, which is $7.4 billion of capital investment and over 970 new permanent jobs. So we've been very busy managing all different levels of project activity right now. So it looks kind of sad compared to our feasibility announcements, but our solid announcements for 2023 is we had an Air Liquide project announcement that was $139 million and 4 new jobs, and then Marucci, that's undisclosed, they're under construction right now, but it's part of a bigger package, so we need to get the exact number that's just associated with their new warehouse. And then here's our project leads. Year to date, we've had 46 leads come in. 8 of those directly came to us, 33 came from LED, and 5 came from different partners and consultants that we work with. The trends that we've seen these are mostly mega projects with mega infrastructure needs, which is kind of the trend around the United States right now, thanks to the IRA. It's been an interesting world. 44% of the leads are traditional industrial projects, 48% are associated with the new, cleaner technologies and industries, and then 8% is unspecified when it comes in as a request. We have had 10 different projects visit us 14 times, so you can see the areas of sites that they were coming to visit. So these are companies where we've responded to an RFI, and then they liked the answers enough that they wanted to come and visit and see what the sites look like in person. And a lot of these have turned into those feasibility announcements already this year. So we do really well on site visits. It's just we try to discourage them in July and August because it is very hot for people who are not from Louisiana, and I'm not sure it really gives us the greatest look, and maybe we need fans or something out on sites, but we still work with whoever really wants to come at that time. And then, as always, we are still in our business retention and expansion program. It's one of our top priorities because the majority of our new jobs are created by the industries that are already here and operating, and our biggest accomplishment is helping those businesses continue to grow and be able to bring in new technologies, retire old technologies, and continue to train their workforce and maintain safe operations. So we have done 17 visits. They're not all in manufacturing, but the universal themes from these visits is around emissions reductions and either recycling or recyclable content, or examining how everyone can better fit their profile to a more sustainable environment. And then workforce needs is all across the board. So workforce is always mentioned, and I would say traffic, but we always know that traffic is always brought up. But workforce is interesting because it's different. There's a lot of requests for more participation with high schools, which I think we have been expanding. How can we engage students to see what jobs are available here in Ascension at an earlier level? And then how can the companies really engage more with potential workforce? And I think with our PCC and Quentin Taylor coming in, there's been a lot of momentum, and also with all of the efforts on the West Bank for starting with early childhood and continuing through, I think we're gonna start seeing an answer to that. But other comments is that the volume of applicants isn't there. So for certain positions in some of these plants, they used to receive hundreds of applications, and that has decreased significantly. And so we may be seeing a smaller pool, especially for craftsman positions. So there's a lot going around the capital region on how can we better prepare, how can we do training, and how can we match education with what the business community needs. So that's been a lot of our focus over the last year. And as always, we can't sell any new projects if we don't have any sites to put them on. So our sites have been going quickly, going under option. So we are always looking for more development-ready land. We're working with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber on doing a full parish analysis that we did one in 2011, I think, was the last time, where they did a full inventory of everything and then rated them based on fatal flaws or zoning or any other things that may change their desirability and development. So we are going through a new analysis to hopefully find some more options to market. And in the meantime, we still have our largest opportunity, which is the 17,000-acre Riverplex Mega Park on the West Bank. We have been actively pursuing a new road off of Highway 1 that would be done in phases as a way to be able to connect projects not only in construction, but in their permanent workforce, and be able to minimize any kind of impact on the community in terms of traffic. So that's been a high priority in the last year of trying to get that road permitted, funded, and underway. And then we still do our site certification program. So if anyone you know is interested in participating, that is still a major incentive with partners with LED and BRAC. And then we finished our video series finally. We sent out a press release maybe a couple months ago, and it's on our website if you want to go check it out. They came out really, really great and have been well received in the community, and shared when people said, hey, I shared it with my family that's not from Louisiana, and they wanted to know what we do here and see what Ascension's like. So we're glad that that's finished, but we encourage anybody who hasn't seen all the videos to look at them, because they did come out really, really good. We were featured as Small Market of the Year in the South through Southern Business and Development Magazine, and we did have a feature on Ascension Parish in Site Selection Magazine about clean energy, and that was supposed to be a Louisiana feature. And they asked me a few questions, and it ended up the entire thing was about Ascension, which is great. So free advertising is always welcome. And then I did travel to IEDC, and I spoke on a panel about alternative learning methods, kind of talking about the holistic approach for education and workforce development at the Economic Future Forum. That was in Calgary, which is very similar to Ascension Parish in their legacy industries. And I had a lot of meetings with their clean energy companies while I was up there at the Global Energy Show. And generating more leads, because we just don't have enough. But it was really good. There is a lot of activity of people who are looking for ways to commercialize their technologies and to also be part of the United States incentive programs at this point. And you'll probably be receiving calls, because we are about to start our 3-year strategic planning process again, and I know that whoever ends up winning the bid will end up contacting all of you for your input on what you think about economic development and what areas that you feel that the parish should be focusing on. I think that is it. If there are any questions.
Mr. Cagnolati?
Comment, I said it when I first got on this council. I've been involved with the AEDC, I guess, almost from the beginning. But you talk about a great investment. Kate and her staff, just it's unbelievable the job they do. They market in the right places. They promote where they need to. And the return on investment is phenomenal. You need to do an economic impact study and present it to the council or to this committee at some other time. But thank you for the hard work you do. Keep doing it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, go ahead, Coach.
You mentioned the road. How close are y'all with getting that accomplished?
It depends on who you
That's
talk
the
to.
road from 4-5 to 1. Is that right?
Yeah, so it would essentially start at Highway 1, and then it would connect, it would run along kind of the treed area near the Iberville Parish border if you were heading upriver. So it would essentially get halfway and then connect back to 405 and then continue on to the Iberville Parish line. So that would be the full connectivity movement, and the plan is hopefully one day we could even make a loop through Iberville, but that's a little bit beyond our dreaming right now. But I think best case scenario, we should be able to get permitting in the next 3 months and then start construction. And so one phase would probably take 12 months to complete, and the second phase would take 24 months. So it will likely take 2 to 3 years for the ability to build out phase 1 and 2. And we also are looking at financing streams. That's another element.
That's pretty close. We thank you and appreciate it.
All right. I don't see any other questions. Thank you, Ms. MacArthur.
Thanks.
All right. Ms. Secretary, I don't know if I mentioned, but Councilman Wagsback came. Okay, just want to make sure. Item E, approval to allow the waiver of sewer connection / development fee for Riverton subdivision 3rd through 10th filings, remainder of Lot 2, portion of Lot 2, ID number 1985200, AP Assessor, variance in accordance with section 18-17.2 to waive connection and development fees of section 18-117.5. I have a motion from Mr. Malonzo, a second from Ms. Cazzo. Do I have any questions? Any objectives? Any objections? Excuse me. We'll send that to full council. Item F, approval of waiver to allow third party to provide sewer treatment for Riverton subdivision 3rd through 10th filings, remainder of Lot 2 and portion of Lot 2. Motion from Mr. Malonzo, second from Mr. Ogeron. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Send that to full council. Approval to allow the waiver of sewer connection / development fee for Christie Place subdivision, variance in accordance with section 18-117.2. Motion from Mr. Ogeron, second from Mr. Cagnolati. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Send that to full council. Approval of waiver of the requirement for donation to public sewer system. I have a motion from Mr. Cagnolati, second from Mr. Ogeron. Do I have any questions? Any objections? That motion will be sent to full council. Approval of addendum number 1 to sublease agreement with Donaldsonville Developments LLC for the part of the building located at 318 Mississippi Street, Donaldsonville, Louisiana. I have a motion from Coach and a second from Ms. Cazzo. Do I have any questions?
I have a question.
Okay, Mr. Ogeron.
Is anybody here on this matter?
Bill's not here, but I can.
Okay, I looked today, as I normally do at these businesses, to see if they're in good standing with the Secretary of State. I noticed that this one is not.
You mean the Donaldsonville Development LLC?
That is correct. Mr. Kelly's.
Okay. We can check. Typically, our process, when we're going through the procurement process, we try to check that. Whenever we set them up as a vendor, we check it. But of course, these things are annual.
Of course,
and so we will definitely look at that, and we will get in touch with them. And usually it's a phone call, and it's usually the reporting, which we make them take care of usually that day.
should we table this until our next available meeting? I mean, or is there any time?
Well, what I would say is you can move it to
the full council meeting?
and then we'll just give you an update then.
I think that's a better idea then.
Okay. Mr. Cagney.
Thanks, Patrick.
Sure.
Yeah, and also, Pat, just, I see it's 13,427.50. Is that what it's going to?
That's the increase. So this is the early childhood center.
Yeah.
And the agreement is every year we renew it, and there was an inflation factor that was built into the contract, so this is the inflation factor.
Thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion in a second, unless I got, okay, I have a motion from Ms. Cazzo.
Second.
A second from Mr. Wagasback. Do you have any questions? Any objectives, objections? Good Lord. All right, moving to full council. Ms. Ashley, can we make sure to put a note in that we get the update of the status from Patrick that meeting? Thank you. Item J, approval of amendment number 1 to master services contract with Inman Enterprises LLC, DBA Janney King of Baton Rouge, to add 4 additional locations: Ascension Parish Water Plant at the cost of $18.22 a month, Ascension Parish District Courthouse West at a cost of $9,100 per month. Ascension, I have a motion from Mr. Ogeron and a second from Coach. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Send to full council. Approval of amendment number 1 to master contract for professional services, temporary staffing with Lofton Industrial Services LLC to increase the contract to $20,000, total contract not to exceed $89,000. Mr. Goldsmith? Oh, I have a motion from Mr. Ogeron. Second from Coach. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Motion will be sent to full council. Item L, bid results and approval to enter into contract for South Louisiana Fairgrounds backstop replacement with the lowest responsive. I have a motion from Coach and a second from Mr. Cagnolotti. Do I have any questions? Any objections? All right, motion will be sent to full council. Item M, results of requests for proposals and approval to enter into contract with Delcon LLC for the RFP Mechanical Services West Ascension Fire Hydrant Repair Replacement Project. I have a motion from Coach and a second from Mr. Lambert. Any questions? Okay, Mr. Ogeron?
Mr. Burris, I wanted to see you walk up here,
I know you did.
so
It's good to see you.
keep you in operations. The last time we were up here as a council and discussing West Bank fire hydrants, we were talking about $750 per hydrant. Have we reduced that cost any on these hydrants?
Well, I'd prefer not to talk about last time. That's behind us. There was no contract and no payments made on that,
Correct,
as you're
yeah.
aware. So this one's a little different. Last time, it was to paint the hydrants. This time, we're testing the functionality. After the first experience, we had some staff go out and inspect those fire hydrants, and that's when we were determining the work was shoddy. This time around, we're testing to make sure they work. I think that's more important.
So we're gonna make sure they work, we're gonna do any repairs and then paint? Is that all in the contract?
Correct.
Okay. And do we have a ballpark as to what this is gonna cost us?
I don't have the budget in front of me, but I'll be happy to get that to you tonight.
Is it a good deal, Jimmy? Is it a good deal?
That's what the professional selection committee determined.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
So the agenda item says RFP, but it was actually RFQ. There's a,
So those terminologies are interchangeable. When we do an RFP, we're actually looking to get a price. When we're doing an RFQ, we're looking to make sure you're qualified. I've spoken to the general counsel at the Legislative Auditor's Office over and over again, and I'm not an electrical contractor, for an example, okay? I could put a bid in on an electrical job. You wouldn't want me doing your electrical work. And so the RFQ process is a way to determine the quality of the potential
right, I understand.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I absolutely know the difference between the two. The agenda item, enter a contract with Delcom LLC for RFP. is what the actual agenda says, but whenever you open the attachment, it's a score sheet from an RFQ.
What
where
we're
we
actually
graded.
doing is, we took hourly rates as a comparison from all of these companies along with their qualifications. And we said, okay, you know, John Brown here, his overall average is $80 an hour. And this guy over here is $50 an hour, but he's only got a year's worth of experience with fire hydrants. And so
Look,
we
Mr. Dean,
took-
what I'm trying to tell you is that there is no price in our packet. All we see is the score sheet for the RFQ. We do not have a single dollar
Yeah,
amount in our
yeah, I
packet.
saw you get it as a score sheet.
Yeah,
I said, we did the tallying,
right.
with the.
No, I'm saying there's a
selection
discrepancy.
committee.
It says RFP,
But
there's no
that's what I'm
price.
explaining to you is, the process that we used as a selection committee is we looked at their qualifications and we looked at their hourly rates, and we scored each company based off of that information, and that's how you come up with the score sheet.
I think the question Mr. Melanson wants to get the answer to is,
If
how much
it's a
is
RF
this? How much are we paying?
If it's a RFQ, I'm fine with that, right? Because RFQ, now y'all can go negotiate the price, right, for each job.
Yeah, no, this is a task order driven contract, and we've set a budget.
I know, Mr. Dean, that's not
I
in here.
know, I understand. And,
I can get that for you.
yes, we can bring that to you in the next meeting.
Table this to the full council meeting.
The next
Well, I have
meeting,
a-
when the packet is
I
complete.
have a current motion in a second, so let's vote on the first one if we can, and then we can, if we don't pass it, then we can do it. Or do a substitute maybe?
I'm happy to substitute.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that.
And to encourage you all to, don't send us a packet again that doesn't have a price. We need a price. That's what we are approving. We're not approving your score sheet. We're approving what is the parish gonna spend to fix fire hydrants, especially after the last disaster. It's even more of a, you know, we've raised a flag up the pole. We need to understand what is the parish gonna spend.
Okay, so, okay, I've got a lot of lights on right now, so right now I have a motion to table this until we can get the price, correct, Ms. Cazzo?
Mr. Mason,
Yes.
I don't have the complete agenda packet with me, but I understand that in the packet, that's part of the agenda, there's a tabulation sheet.
Yeah, we can see that, we can see that.
We can see that.
We can see that Delcom outscored the other company, but you're asking us to approve a RFP, and there's not a dollar amount in the
Yes, sir.
packet. Like, if it was a RFQ,
Councilman Malassa, I'm looking on page 116 of the packet, and I see the base bid for Delcon is 352,000.
we have 2 pages.
We don't have that.
I'm online looking. Y'all
Let's
don't
table
have,
it.
you don't
We're
have
gonna
page
table-
116 of the packet?
I have page 1, and I have page 2.
That's the agenda. The packet is a separate file.
And we're on Civic Clerk. Yeah.
And we have,
Oh, you're in Civic Clerk, I'm sorry.
on us, it's around 127.
Oh, I thought we were on Delcon, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just defer. I just want to see it.
I understand. I'm sorry for not
Ms.
having that
Castro said, this was
information
a-
with me.
Right, this was a big stink
Yes,
last
sir.
time. Just let us see it's a dollar amount. I mean,
Yes, sir.
and we can, so I'm actually, yeah, we'll just defer. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where? Is it? Look at this.
We're talking about Delcon's contract?
Yeah, with the West.
Okay, I was on page 162, and they have the base bid, and they have the 3 bids that were.
In our
provided.
packet, we just have 2 pages. We don't have the whole thing. I don't know what we're looking at versus what y'all are looking at, but it ain't the same thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's a different Delcom, I'm sorry. I see
Okay.
what you're saying.
Okay.
I was
All right,
trying to
so,
search for Delcom.
That's okay. So we have a motion and a second to defer this to the next meeting until we can get the proper financial packet. Do I have any objections to Ms. Cazzo's substitute motion? Yes, sir, Coach.
The services that's gonna be rendered for the amount that's gonna be, given.
Yeah.
The services that we will do
Good catch, Coach.
not just painting it? Is there gonna be other services? that's
Yes,
gonna be
sir.
added? Okay, now, put in all of that.
So
James?
put in
Put
all the
Yes, sir.
services.
that's gonna
Absolutely.
be ready
Okay,
for
all
you.
the services and the price, please,
Price,
in the
yes.
contract, and we'll defer that to the next finance meeting. Okay, any objections? Yes, sir. Mr. Robert.
There's two items on the agenda for Delcon, L and M. And I think we were starting with L, and there was a question about fire hydrants, which is M. And I want to make sure we're voting on the
We've
correct.
already approved L.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we're good.
Because I missed that, I didn't have that
That's okay.
checked off. All right.
All right, so any objections to Ms. Cazzo's substitute motion? Awesome. We will see you guys next month with that. All right, item N, bid and results and approval to enter into a contract for Butch Core Park renovations with the lowest responsive bid submitted by Jones Construction Solutions LLC in the amount of $1 million. I have a motion from Mr. Lambert. A second from Ms. Cazzo. Do I have any questions? I have Mr. Molson.
All right, Ricky, walk us through this. It's a lot of money.
So, when this project was originally scoped, we had budgeted $1 million. When we finalized the construction drawings, we raised that to $1.6 million. When we put it out to bid with the three options, we're at the price you see before you, which is 1.9 plus 4 plus 2.5 plus 1.2 for a total of $2.8 million. This is going to completely turf the four backfields, the infields at Butch Gore Park. It's going to replace the backstops and the netting. It's going to provide a new restroom for the front fields. It's going to provide irrigation for the outfields. It's a full park project, which is what we're going to try to do moving forward so that we're not band-aiding these parks as we move forward. The reason I'm coming before you for this particular one is that in order for you guys and girl to accept this bid, I need you to give us the authority to move the American Rescue Plan project from Stevens Park to Butch Gore. We know that the theory is that the federal government is going to claw back this money if we don't spend it. And we need to spend this money in fewer large projects. So the request tonight is that the $2 million that we were going to spend doing a regional detention pond at Stevens Park, that's not going to happen within this time frame. And I need to move that money to Butch Gore so I can do this project. And it needs to happen with this approval and the council approval, because our goal is to break ground and to be finished before spring ball starts. So these young ladies are playing on new fields in the spring, and our timeline is so squished that if we don't approve this tonight and at the council meeting, we lose a year. So again, it's our goal to do these major park projects, to spend these dollars so they don't get clawed back. And my first request is here before you tonight, as I need to move $2 million of American Rescue Plan to Butch Gore.
We have a motion and a second.
Currently, and Mr. Lawler has a question.
Well, before you said all that, I was concerned about the cost, and I was concerned because did you see the football game last night? Did you watch the first 5 plays?
Yes.
Are we going to Aaron Rodgers, the Butch Gore Park?
Well, big concern is turf. I'm not a big fan of turf. And, and I was looking at this from the perspective of, hey, if we can do 2 of these fields turfed, the others not turfed, do we save money? But if it's an issue of being able to ensure that we have the money from the federal government, otherwise we're going to lose it all, that's a little concerning. So,
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So I guess we really don't have a choice on this.
You certainly have a choice.
No, the choice is either not move the money or lose the money, it sounds like, or potentially lose the money.
Potentially, yeah.
Yes, Aaron.
Am I correct?
That is the current theory at hand, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we plant trees while we're at it? Please.
There
My niece plays baseball.
There will,
It's so
there will
hot.
be landscaping amongst many parks as we move forward, but we don't want to put landscaping in that will have to remove when we do these projects.
Okay.
There will be landscaping in our
Some
parks.
Shade of some kind.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Wagesback.
Yeah, just real quick, I guess I don't see it worded like that we're moving that money. So is the 2.8 what we're spending, or we're spending 2.8 minus the 2 that we're moving? Because it's not really clear, I'm just asking.
So this process is for this body to accept the bid,
Okay,
okay?
fair enough.
The council passed a resolution authorizing how we were to spend the American Rescue Plan dollars.
Okay.
And so what I'm doing is I'm requesting that we be allowed to amend that so that we can move $2 million of the American Rescue Plan to Butch Gore. So then we'll only be spending $803,000 out of our fund, which then means we'll be able to take those funds that we had allocated to Butch Gore, and we're gonna build some of the other I mean, all of the projects that you have all been seeing in our spreadsheet, they're all still gonna happen. We're just gonna have to shuffle some funds around to make them happen quicker with American Rescue Plan and a little longer with our dollars.
Thank you. It just didn't say that, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something.
100%.
So does that come later? Do we have to authorize you to move the money later? I'm just asking.
And I think that's going to be a question, is how formal, the resolution said how you intended to spend the projects, and we passed that and we all agreed. When we talked about the last update, you said, well, can you let us know if you want to move the money? So we can make this as formal or as informal as the council desires. If we want to do a formal amendment to a resolution, which I don't know if that's overkill in y'all eyes, or when we do our update, we can make sure when we do our next update, which is quarterly, we can make sure we highlight those that, the council has approved. So we really just want to make sure that we're talking with y'all and that y'all know what's going on and that it's whatever the council wishes.
Okay. Well, with that, I'll say motion.
I've got 4 questions. Hold on. Ms. Cazzo.
Yeah, I certainly want to express my desire to see this happen. I also would like to see us, or the bodies in the future, to approve changes to the decisions that were made by this council this year relative to the American Rescue Fund's money. So I think it just needs to be a two-step process. We can.
And absolutely, we will not make any changes without bringing them before y'all. And I think the question is going to be, how do we do that? Do we do a new resolution which just supersedes the old resolution? I don't know if we've ever amended a resolution. I don't know if Cinnamon or JP knows. But look, we're willing to do whatever the council desires to make it official.
Why don't you all investigate that, whatever it
Sure.
needs to be, and put it on the next agenda to solve that problem?
100%, and we'll be happy to sit down and prepare that new resolution with the list of projects we think we can get done within that 2-year time frame, so that there's no clawing back. Have it done in one resolution, and we'll be free and clear moving forward to do those projects, and we'll commit to have that on the next agenda.
Yeah, because that's a good
Thank
point.
you.
We're having lots of these discussions, as you can imagine, with supply chain, with what we can get done. And we had that discussion with the last when we gave the update. So maybe it's time to take that holistic look and we'll come back with the entire list. But we know that the wishes of the council are, at least for this one, for the regional detention, that'll be included in that change in the resolution.
Yeah, I so strongly encourage that we get this money spent.
Yeah.
Because there's a high risk that it's gonna go away.
Mr. Malonzo.
I think we kind of answered my question, but every time we make a change from the original resolution for the original dollars on the American Rescue Act, we'll do the same process.
So what we're saying is we're gonna commit to come to you next month with a new list of projects, where we're gonna allocate that money for those projects. And, Michael and I have already talked, we're gonna still do all the projects that were on that original list. But what we're gonna have to do is just shuffle the money from out of our recreation fund to do them, because we're gonna replace it with, we'll do a giant project with American Rescue Plan dollars to spend that money quicker. So it's gonna be pulling out of this pocket and putting in this pocket, but so we don't lose the money out of this pocket. But we're gonna send you that whole list next month. It'll be a new resolution with a much smaller list of projects.
Yeah. The 5-year plan will look the same. It's just kind of like we talked about, the color of money will be a little bit different. We're going to spend this money quicker so that we have no risk of losing it, and just the money that was going to be used for the other projects that'll free up the general fund, or the recreation dollars, or the capital project dollars.
Many thanks to you all for
I'm good.
and getting to work on it. We appreciate it very much.
All money is green.
Mr. Lawler.
Yeah, really doesn't touch on this project as far as this recreation project here, but in a general sense, I want to make sure that we're also, as a council, kept advised of any potential losses. If we find out that the clawback is happening, and if we get to a point where we have a lot of these projects you come to us with, and there's still a gap that we need to spend more, number one, we want to know so we can do that, but we also don't want to get surprised if we come and we find out, oh yeah, we lost this money. We need to know about that ahead of time. We need to be kept informed of that.
No, absolutely, and so far it has been quiet, and that's our early warning sign that just walked back in the room. Councilman Cagnolotti is well, entrenched in NACO, and they are at the forefront of all this, and they're at the forefront of fighting the clawback, so we're trying to be well ahead of this. So absolutely, if we hear anything, we will be bringing it to the Finance Committee and Council.
So just be aware, we've got the number's gonna escape me, $8 million building we're getting ready to build in Santa Ma, where we've only allocated $4 million of American Rescue Plan. We could easily slide $2 million more to that project and still, we've got other gigantic projects, the Airnasium in Donaldsonville, we only allocated $1 million. That may end up being a $2 million project. We're gonna be ready to say, hey, that's a project we wanna do with this plan. So next month, you will have our new plan.
Okay, good.
Perfect. Yeah, we're really good at spending money.
Is that next month or the next?
The next
council
finance meeting. The next finance meeting.
Okay. But for the council meeting, you'll have this worked out,
The amended resolution.
yeah. You'll have it worked out for the next council meeting.
No, we're gonna bring you, instead of just doing it piecemeal, what we're saying is next month we'll come with all the proposed changes to try to accelerate everything, not just this one project. So there may be some others.
That kind of changes the motion, the amended motion that we have.
You want to levy your time down? Okay, down?
Yeah, I mean, so just to reiterate what Ricky said, this is to accept the bid, not to talk about the funding. So I think this is just allowing them to accept the bid, so we don't end up a month down the road and get a higher bid, right? Is that right, Ricky?
That, and by accepting the bid, it allows us to move to the contract phase all within our timeline to have this completed by spring. Again, it's really just a formality at this point. If we're accepting the fact that this council, this finance committee, this council is gonna allow us to move that $2 million of American Rescue Plan, we can accept the bid, move to contract, the resolution's gonna be readopted, and right now, the money is all where it needs to be anyway. It's already in a capital fund for recreation. We're just reallocating how this body's gonna allow us to spend it. It's already there.
Just don't lose it.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion and a second for item N. Do I have any objections? Any questions? All right, motion goes full council. Thank you, Ricky. Approval to make changes to the Ascension Parish classification plan by updating one position title from Application Specialist 120 to Application Specialist 118 and Application Specialist 2 120 in technology to establish career progression, updating one labor grade for Assistant Director of Recreation from 117 to 122, adding one new senior level position of Application Specialist, Senior in Technology, and adding one new position in Data Analytics GSI Administrator, and adding one new position in the HR Department of Assistant Safety Officer, Ms. Kaysen. Or Ms. Megan. Oh, you're up there. Never mind. Kidding.
I'm right here. Are there any questions about any of this before I?
Ms. Cazzo has a question, actually.
Yes, ma'am?
Explain it all to me.
Okay, all righty. So basically, my theory has been since I was appointed and really got to know our workforce is that we didn't have any career progression established with our positions. We would have people hired in at positions and they would stay there for a long period of time. And so what I was familiar with the federal government was more of you were hired into a position that had career progression built into it. Your ones, twos, and threes. We didn't have that in the federal government. We had a little bit of a different classification system, but that's what's familiar for you. So as managers will tolerate me and as situations come up, I sit them down and I try to get them on board with what is something that I believe will help in recruitment as well. When we have positions that, when we hire someone at the lower level, you can see that they can grow and will be promoted when they have that experience along with manager's approval. And so that's what we've done in IT. We took the existing position, the 118, actually it's a 120, and we just established it as a 1 and a 2 and took it down at the 1. So we lowered it at the entry level for the 118 and then went ahead and you could have career progression to the 120. So that was really only establishing that we would hire at a lower level to get people that, you know, didn't have the experience we were looking for. And then we added a senior level position that's a standalone as well. That's in IT.
How many of those senior level positions did we add?
Well, it's just the actual position itself. It's not necessarily a number associated behind that.
And so do
It's
we know
just-
how many people each one of these changes is going to impact and how it will impact them? Or is there no, is it a neutral change?
Right now, it's pretty neutral. We do have some individuals in the 120 that would have no change because they're already in that 120. They're already in what I would call the journeyman level. This would only impact future. When we would go to recruit, the manager would have that flexibility to take it down a notch to reach like our college level employees, rather than at that 120 level that has experience built into it required.
And how well has this been conveyed to our staff?
Well, as far as, are you talking about the workforce itself?
Exactly. I mean, so have they been met with? Have we discussed with them so that they can understand what's happening and how it might impact them? And
Right.
I certainly don't object to this on its face, and I love the idea of a way for them to be increased, and certainly entry level as well. But I'm concerned that maybe at this juncture, we have folks in these grades who don't quite understand. So I guess my best way to address this is if we approve this, then you're going to do some workshops with members of the teams so that they understand how it affects them.
We do that now, we do. And anytime a position or a person is affected, we actually call that person and let them know, and we offer them, we give them a copy of their new position description, and we get them to sign that. So there's never any change done to an employee that the employee is not told about it.
Okay.
Mr. Wagersback.
Yeah. It's not really, I got two questions. It's really not about the first part of it. I guess for me, I'd like to see more kind of about adding the new positions. You know, I'd like to hear more about why we're doing that, right? When you add a full-time employee, I'd like to see, you know, what's the fruits of the labor from that. Assistant safety officer, I mean, I'm assuming we have one now.
I
but-
can certainly speak very intelligently about that assistant safety officer
Okay.
need. That is a new position, and let me tell you, it is absolutely critical that we get some help in the safety program. We have one person that does safety for this entire parish. So what that means is that this person has to be at every single incident that happens, and sometimes they happen at the same time, 2 or 3 at a time.
Okay.
And so this is only one person. And so I mentioned to the parish president several months ago that we needed help in the safety program.
Okay.
And so that is actually what that is for.
Okay, and what about the other one? So I guess I would ask that analytics,
Okay,
GIS, is that like Brian's department?
that is.
Okay,
So what that was is that Brian asked us to take a classification review of one of his existing positions that has an incumbent right now.
okay,
The strange part about this particular one is that we did have this GIS administrator position at this labor grade on our classification plan in years past. I don't have the answer as to why it's not there anymore.
Why it went off? Okay.
It just got taken off for a reason that I don't know. And the actual position is very much more well-suited to this title and this labor grade. So this doesn't create an FTE for us, this particular one. But it's important because all of these particular scenarios have a different story. So I'm glad that you're asking about it because they don't come here for all the same reasons.
Okay,
So that's that particular one.
okay.
Now, the Assistant Director of Recreation, I want to take full responsibility because I absolutely missed that in the market study. That is the only assistant director in the whole parish that did not get a upgrade when the market study was done.
Okay.
And I just missed it.
Okay.
And so this is me not missing it
My
anymore.
question was more about the adding versus the, so
Right.
I understand about progression, getting caught in a pay
Yeah.
grade, not having progression, so that's great. Last question is, we're gonna be doing budget soon. So, you know, I know early on we had said, oh, we're keeping the salary, you know, spend in the parish, we're keeping it level, right? We talked,
Right.
you know, we heard a lot about that. I would think that that's going up. So, you know, how are we gonna handle that with budget, right? Because as cost of living goes up and as everything else goes up, materials, I mean, that's gonna affect the budget, so.
Absolutely.
I wanna see, you know, how we're handling that budget-wise and how we're covering that increase as, and not just for next year, but, you know, what's our 3 or 4 year plan on those kind of
Right.
things?
So I will tell you, as the HR director, when the directors of the departments come to me with this, I am not a money person. I'm not the money person that gives them money. I am the person that talks to them about HR. So for my position, is absolutely in the budget. You can ask our CFO. I put that position in there, or at least I put it in there in draft form before it's approved. So each director, they were instructed that in order to fill these positions, and of course, we can approve 1 million positions, but before it gets put through, it has to go through finance and it has to be within the budget. And, you know, it doesn't get approved if it's not.
And the question is very timely because we are going through that budget process. It won't be long before we're presenting it to finance and the council. And I want to give Dawn some credit. She goes through every department with every department head, position by position, and looks and tries to understand what might happen to that position. Is it going to stay the same? Is it being changed? This new position that we're talking about, well, let's put that in there and see what it does to the budget. Also, as we do every year, we're going to present a factor to you for COLAs and merits of what % we think it needs to be. And, you know, inflation is better, but it is still, it shocked me a little bit when we started looking at the numbers because we don't hear as much about it. It might not be 8%, but, you know, it certainly is still extremely high. So we're kind of thinking internally exactly what you're saying. What does that number need to be? When we put those two together, the merits and the COLA, and then how does that affect the budget? So we're crunching numbers right now, and we're going to be presenting that to you soon. So absolutely, that'll be part of our discussion.
Right.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
All right, I have 3 more questions. First, Mr. Johnny.
Thank you, Lucy. You're asking for new positions.
What's that?
New positions. That's what's being requested here.
It's new, it's not new positions, it's new titles and labor grades, some of them labor grades. It does not represent a person just yet because these are not on the classification plan today.
Okay.
And so that's what, you can't even fill a position that's not on the classification plan.
That was my question.
Right.
If we approve that classification down the road, literally all of these positions could be filled at one point in time.
Could be if they're in the budget.
If there's a need and a justification. Okay, that's all, thank you.
Ms. Ganglani.
But just to make sure that everybody understands what the process is, when a department requests for the Human Resources Department to create a requisition to fill a job, it's created, but it does have to go through finance before it ever goes to the parish president for final approval and to fill. Every position has to be budgeted before it's actually announced.
All right, Mr. Lawler.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of what I was asking, like for the safety position, we know we need it, so we're approving this pay scale for it for a new position. Will that enable us to go hire somebody?
I can't today, only when I have the money in my budget. So that would be 2024. But I have to get it on the classification plan. So this is just me pre-planning.
Okay, that's what I was trying to.
Right.
Right, so we're going to advertise for this in the next 6 months or so?
And unless I may have the funds in my budget right now with, in my labor dollars with some of the other positions. I doubt it for this level of position, but I would just have to see. But again, these are titles. I would have to go to Dawn and ask her, what does my budget look like for that?
And that's what I was wondering, because it seems like that's a very important position. If there's
Yeah.
money in the budget or there's somewhere in there, I didn't know if we're trying to do this right away. I'm just trying to understand what we're thinking here.
I know Lucy would love to do it right away, but I think, as she said, once this is approved, and it's gonna be a process, and this will take us, closer to the end of the year.
Right.
Then it'll be a question of, what's the budget looking like at this point? Are there dollars available? If not, then you're gonna see it in the 2024 budget. When you get all of the positions, this will be included in the HR group. And you'll see that Assistant Safety Director. And so then, for sure, if that budget is approved, that would give her the green light January 1 to start looking for that position.
Okay.
Or as I like to do a little because it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
It takes me 2 council meetings to get these actually put on the classification plan, and then it could take me anywhere from 30 to 45 days to actually get someone to say yes. And so, depending on if the budget is passed, so, but that's just, I can't do anything until I get it on the plan.
Gotcha.
All right. Any other questions? All right, Chair. Yes, I need a motion in a second. I have a motion from Mr. Malasa, a second from Mr. Lawler. Do I have any objections? All right, sent to full council. Thank you. Item P, approval of amendment number 3 to the general staffing agreement with Capital City Staffing, DBA Ammon Staffing, for nursing staff at the Ascension Parish Jail to increase the total by an amount of $90,000 for a total contract of $289,500. I have a motion from Mr. Lambert and a second from Mr. Cagnolati. I have a question from Mr. Malasa. Ms. Christie, she's got it.
Hey, Miss Christie, how are you? I wish I'd have thought about it sooner, when Dr. Trevino was here, but, I thought part of our agreement with the lake was staffing at the jail.
It's not at this time.
It's not?
No, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Christie? All right, I have a motion and a second. Do I have any objections? None seen, so motion carries. Thank you. All right. Item Q, approval for Parish President Clint Quintmall to sign and execute any and all documents relating to FY 2023/2024 Donaldsonville Courthouse Restoration, FP&C. I have a motion from Coach and a second from Mr. Malasa, and I have a question for Mr. Wagasback.
Real quick, it covers like the next 6 items. If we're just accepting funds, like we're not divvying them out, I mean, do we really have to approve each of these? Is this something we talk about items that we have that take time. I mean, is this something when we're signing a document to accept funds from the government, do we have to approve that?
This is all part of the capital outlay process.
Okay.
So, and Hermina has to deal with the state and with FP&C to try to get these approved, and so this is part of her process that she has to go through with the state, so we can actually accept the funds that they appropriated to us.
Yeah, it is something that they requested an official resolution from the governing body.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, a motion and a second. Okay, do I have any other questions? Any objections? All right, motion be sent to full council. Item R, approval for the parish president, Clint Quintmall, to sign. I have a motion from Coach and a second from Mr. Cagnolati. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Sent to full council. Item S, approval for parish president Clint. I have a motion from Mr. Cagnolati, a second from Coach. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Sent to full council. Item T, approval parish president Clint Quintmall to sign and execute any. I have a motion from Mr. Lawler. Sure, okay, and a second from Mr. Cagnolati. I'm hearing something over here. Have any objections or any questions? All right, motion carries for the full council. Item U, approval for parish president Clint Quintmall to sign and execute any and all documents relating to. I have a motion from Mr. Lambert, a second from Mr. Cagnolati. Any objections? Any questions? We sent to the full council? Yes.
I could be nitpicking. But
It sounds like you're gonna nitpick.
But I think that we have to at least read the agenda item in full.
Okay. There's just so many of them. Just so many of them.
I'm just saying, I'm hearing Cinnamon McKee in my ear
That's for
right
full
now, and
council.
she,
All right, item V, approval for Parish President Clint Quintemall to sign and execute any and all documents relating to FY 2023-2024 four-lane LA 30 from I-10 to LA 73 FP&C project. Now y'all can do it. I have a motion for Mr. Wagasback, second for Mr. Cagnolati. Any objections? Any questions? Motion carries. Approval for Parish President Clint Quintemall to sign and execute any and all documents required in implementing grant under the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program through Restore Louisiana Infrastructure, FEMA Public Assistance, Non-Federal Share Match Program, and/or Don Caballero. I have a motion for Mr. Cagnolati. Second for Mr. Malonzo. Any questions? Any objections? Motion will be sent to full council. Item X, approval of change order number 1, Road Dog Electrical LLC for the Lamar Dixon Expo Center Maintenance Shop Lighting Installation to add an additional 150 days to the contract due to standby time for completion of upgrades on the maintenance shop. The substantial completion date will now be September 28, 2023. In addition, there will be a deduction of $7,930 from the total contract due to the reduced scope of work for the maintenance shed.
Motion, second.
I have a motion from Mr. Cagnolati, a second from Mr. Lambert. Any questions? Any objections? Be sent to full council. Item Y, approval of change order number 4 with BET Construction, Inc. for the Early Learning Center Lehman Building in the amount of $49,388.15 for renovating the display windows for child safety for a total contract amount of $1 million. I have a motion from Ms. Cazzo, a second from Mr. Ogeron. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Motion will be sent to full council. Approval of change order number 5 for BET Construction, Inc. for Early Learning Center Lemon Building in the amount of $7,049.85 to separate the utilities from the apartments that are currently connected together for a total contract amount of $1,485,634.56. I have a motion from Coach and a second from Mr. Cagnolati. Any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. Item AA, approval of change order number 6 with BET Construction, Inc. for the Early Learning Center Lemon Building to increase substantial completion by additional 87 days due to delivery days and getting doors and door frames. No additional change in contract, total contract. I have a motion from Mr. Malonzo, a second from Mr. Cagnolati. Any questions? Any objections? Motion will go to full council. Item BB, approval of amendment number 8 to the master contract for professional services with Buckhart Horn, Inc. for an extension of the contract through December 31st, 2023. I have a motion from Mr. Lambert, a second from Mr. Wagasback.
I have a quick question for Mr. Dean.
Mr. Malonzo has a question. Killing us, Jake.
Hey, Mr. Dean, these next 11 are all, it's just engineering, on move extension, correct?
Yep.
Okay, we're just extending, no dollar amounts? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. So I have a motion and a second. Any objections? Any other questions? Motion will be sent to full council. CC, approval amendment number 8 to the master contract of professional services with Burke Klein Peter, Inc. for an extension. Motion for Mr. Cagnolati, second from Mr. Malonzo. Any questions? Any objections? Moving on. Item DD, approval amendment number 8 to master contract for professional services with Evan Graves Engineer. Motion for Mr. Cagnolati, second from Ms. Cazzo. Any questions? Any objections? Moving on. EE, approval of amendment number 8 to master contract for professional services with Hartman Engineering for extension.
So moved.
From Mr. Lambert and a second from Ms. Cazzo. Any questions? Any objections? So moved. Approval of amendment number 8 to the master contract professional services with McKim & Creed, Inc. Motion from Mr. Cagnolati. Second from Ms. Cazzo. Any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. GG, approval of amendment number 8, master contract for professional services with Meyer Engineers L. Limited for an extension through December 31st, 2003.
Motion.
I have a motion from Ms. Cazzo, a second from Mr. Malonzo. Any questions? Any objections? So moved. Approval of AHH, approval amendment number 8 to the master contract for professional services with Neil Schaefer, Inc. for an extension of the contract. Now, a motion from Ms. Cazzo, a second from Mr. Cagnolati. Any questions? Any objections? Approval amendment number 8 to the master contract for professional services with Shred Kirkendall and Associates for an extension. I have a motion from Ms. Cazzo, a second from Mr. Cagnolati. Any questions? Any objections? Item JJ, approval of amendment number 8 to the master contract for professional services with SJB Group LLC, an extension through December 31st. Motion from Mr. Cagnolati, second from Ms. Cazzo. Any questions? Any objections? So moved. KK, approval of amendment number 8 to the master contract for professional services with T. Baker Smith LLC for an extension. Motion from Mr. Cagnolati.
Second.
Second from Mr. Lawler. Any questions? Any objections? So moved. Approval of the amendment number 8 to master contract for professional services with Volkert, Inc. for the extension.
Second.
Motion from Ms. Cazzo, a second from Mr. Lawler. Any questions? Any objections? Excuse me. And MM, contract report for all contracts entered into the month of August. They were emailed to us like day before yesterday. I think it may actually even earlier than that. Anybody have any questions about the contract report? Call Miss Ashley. All right, and then she is. Item 6A, financial update, the open finance website's listed right here. And do I have any questions about 6A? Motion to adjourn by everybody. Any seconds? Or by everybody? So adjourn. Thank you.